Hello, hello, hello. One sec. Let me just do this. Welcome to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. I am Dr. Jefferson, your host. I hope that you guys are doing well out there. Hopefully, everybody is in a positive momentum, right? Positive energy flowing your way. Um, I did not intend to do a show today. I didn't. So this is I guess it's impromptu as one would say is impromptu. Celebrating my birthday this weekend and just happened to take a look at this content that was sent to me and I listened to it. I did. I'm going to let you guys listen to it. Take a look see. Yep. So if you guys are viewing me for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and notifications button so you can, get notifications whenever I'm going live or whatever, especially like if I'm going impromptu like this. If you read in the description, I'm sure you guys know what we're here to talk about. So, on Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson, on this platform, we discuss accountability conversations as it relates to situations and conversations and issues that affect the Black and the Brown community. I am a psychotherapist, sex therapist, life educator, family life educator, author. It's so many different things, right? I wear a lot of hats. And here on this platform, I support positive energy and positive momentum. Okay. So in this video, how many of you saw this? Like, so if you've seen this video already, type a one in the chat. I mean, of course, I'm still going to have to play it for those who haven't seen it. But if you've already seen it, type a one in the chat. If you've not seen it, two. So Judge Joe Brown is giving. Oh God, there is a typo in your comment, producer. So Judge Joe Brown is rendering his opinion, professional opinion, on the Bill Cosby situation. And I think that he's given his insights quite a few times. Hey Forever Lisa, how are you? You guys know what? I was just over there and I was checking out Lisa's channel just a moment ago. I just found it. I was able to hit save to view later. I'm really excited about that. You guys know I'm learning of YouTube. I'm learning to use YouTube. So I'm super excited. Shout out to the folks in the chat. So I'm gonna play this. And Jermaine, hey to you too. I am gonna play this, and if you've not heard it, sit back, take a listen, let me know what you're thinking, where you are, and then I'll give you my answer. My viewer who sent this to me said, Dr. J, men are interesting. But listen. I'm gonna hold myself accountable for anything that I may have said previously and all of that good stuff. Because the guy that sent me this, he was just like, Dr. J. So what we saying? Is Bill Cosby innocent or guilty? Blah blah blah. So let's get to it. Let's see what see what the judge has to say.
Cosby, as you know, he was released to most people's surprise yesterday, walking out of a Pennsylvania state prison because
I don't think it was a surprise. It wasn't a surprise to me, but okay.
Because of a very interesting development in his case. And yesterday, many celebrities chimed in on social media. One of TV's most well-known judges, Judge Joe Brown, was one of those people who called out the way that mainstream media had been covering the story. Hours ago, He tweeted, and to be clear, much of this was in response to something I wrote, but he said, anyone who was knowledgeable of American law would have expected and predicted the outcome of the Cosby appeal. Mainstream media in Hollywood incite public disorder by lying to the people about the law and encouraging mob rule. Hollywood reacts to Bill Cosby release with shock. Here to discuss his recent comments, joining me now is Judge Joe Brown. Judge, thank you for joining me. Why do you say that mainstream media encourages mob rule?
I've talked to 43 lawyers around the country, 17 judges, and I haven't found one that was shocked by the verdict. Most saw the same thing that I did from day one. This never should have gone to trial. It's a travesty. It's a violation of due process and American law. It is part of this mess that mainstream media is trying to feed into the heads of the citizenry and poison them by saying that their emotions and their feelings are supposed to have paramountcy over what happens within the law. That's not the way it goes. I get people who never even took what they should have gotten in the fourth and fifth grade get to talking about how somebody going to disprove what these women accuse Dr. Cosby of. And the truth of the matter is you don't have to. They have to prove that what they claim is true, not the other way around. That's American law. I see too much of this show up on the courthouse, voice your opinion, and get the courts to yield to what you believe. That's not the way the law works. That's called mob rule, mob justice. And if you want a more egregious exemplar, take what happened to Emmett Till and every other black man that's been lynched in the history of this country because somebody got emotional and decided to suborn the law, go around it, and do what their emotions drove them to do. So that is the way things ought to be. Law separates us from the animals, and we can't have this disregard of the law. I want to commend this Howard Dean for being forthright enough to speak out on what the reality is, and I would suggest that they need to strengthen the breadth requirements at Howard University so I don't see such ignorance coming out of this profoundly historic black university. My father went there way back in the 40s.
Well, Judge, there's two things going on at once, though, Judge.
That I have heard come out of that place lately. And if anybody
so, Judge, I think there's two things happening at once.
Justice, they ought to.
So, Judge, I think there's two things happening at once here. And I think, on the one hand, many of us are legitimately aware, and myself included, that the criminal legal system doesn't give equal outcomes to everybody, that black folk catch the worst end of this, that black men, when it comes to incarceration, get the absolute worst end of this. And the Bill Cosby case is an example of a prosecutor who was dishonest. Bill Cosby, absolutely, if he's told that you won't be prosecuted for giving this deposition, and then he gets prosecuted, that is a violation of his rights, and that is a violation of due process.
Of course it is.
On the other hand,
due process.
But on the right, but let me finish this point, Judge.
On going forward should be disciplined.
So there's that, but then there's the other question that people. So then there's this other question that people, though, have, Judge, which is a legal question. Which is not a legal question. I think those two things, to some extent, are getting mixed up. And the non-legal question is about whether or not Bill Cosby actually did harm. Legally, you can say he's not guilty because the not guilty stands.
He didn't do anything. American law, there is an absolute presumption of innocence until you are proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt using due process of law. If there was no due process of law, that presumption of innocence does not remove itself, and there is no valid conviction. If there is no valid conviction, that presumption of innocence stands as a rock for
Yes.
Okay. So I think I saw Lisa's comment. Let's go back to Lisa's comment, because I think this is a good stopping point to kind of have a little bit of a discussion. So, Lisa, you say he was guilty because he admitted his wrong only because it was supposed to stay still. So, I'm not sure if you caught my initial review of this, but when I initially said there were no grounds to prosecute a case against Bill Cosby and get a conviction. I said that. I said that even before all of this unfolded and they pursued prosecutory efforts against him. So, a couple of things. So, a person cannot be guilty prior to being tried or accused in the official capacity in the American legal system. They can't. They just can't. For example, right? And I think Judge Joe Brown did a great job by bringing up the Emmett Till situation. He did. He really did, because oftentimes as Black and brown people, we need an extreme example in order for us to hone it back in for personal relatability. So the Emmett Till situation was, Joe Brown called it mob justice, mob rule. It was definitely a case of people allowing their emotions to lead their actions, and not trust in the legal process. Okay? So the same thing comes here. You know, a person is full on innocent, period, unless they have been accused and have pending charges against them of a particular crime. So it's like we could see, let's say you see Jonathan or Ray Ray shoot and kill Ted, and then the cops come. And while the cops are there asking questions of witnesses that were around the scene at the time that the crime was committed, you may have mentioned to them, yeah, I saw him. I saw him do it. And then, the cops like, well, who'd you see? Who'd you see do it? Is he still here? Like, is he still here? Like, what's his name? Do you know his information? Do you know where we can find him? So let's just say you tell, okay? And the cops go, and before the cops go make an arrest, you're like, oh, he's guilty. I saw him do that. He's guilty of sin. You're the only person that saw him. So now it's up to the police to be able to kind of line their ducks in a row and find evidence to be able to try and convict this guy. So the burden of proof lies on the prosecution. You have to convince a jury or convince a judge. If it's just, the one judge, you have to convince them that beyond the shadow of a reasonable doubt, right, that a person committed a crime. Bill Cosby, at the time of him rendering this deposition, he had no criminal cases or criminal charges pending against him. So his attestation that took place during the deposition it's not valid and it's not admissible, because when he signed an agreement saying as much, that agreement was supposed to be honored. So he was not guilty by way of there not being any charges. He was innocent because there were no charges brought against him at the time he made those admissions over the course of his deposition. You see what I'm saying? Now, on the one case where they decided to move forward, there was not sufficient evidence for them to be able to prove, like I said, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Bill Cosby was guilty of any criminal wrongdoing. Okay, and sexual assault. Now, I don't know if he discusses this. I can't remember, but This particular victim went and stayed for 2 days. 2 days with Cosby. And allegedly, the drugs were provided to the young lady on day one. Okay. In those cases, the reality is, okay, well, we could easily say sexual assault because you can't be a legally consenting adult if you're under the influence, right? So if sex takes place after that, regardless of whether or not you're saying, yes, give it to me, I need this, whatever, right? It's still rape. Okay. But for you to stay another day, excuse me, even after you woke up, slept the drugs off, and you're staying for a full on a whole separate day, that's saying that it's, there's reason to doubt that it was sexual assault. You see what I'm saying? And that's not to take away from the person who this happened to, to that young lady. I mean, if what you say happened to you, I feel very bad about that. But and I hate to do a comparison, but the reality is when, you know, in cases like this, the jury is thinking to themselves, like, well, if somebody raped me, am I gonna stay a second day with them and then continue to use drugs and have sex with them? Like, mm. So the reasonable doubt, the doubt is what matters, right? So let's get into this a little more. We're gonna listen just a little more because we got to do our due diligence if we're gonna hold accountable people that need to be held accountable.
The defendant. It is to keep the government from acting in a dishonest fashion and using its powers for persecution. So Dr. Cosby
so I think we're on the same page with that.
Found guilty through due process. He hasn't done anything. So under American law, the accusations are just that. They carry no weight other than accusations, and they must be proven using due process beyond a reasonable doubt. If they have not been, then they are essentially worthless, just so much talk.
So I think we're on the same page. So I think we're on the same page with regard to the law. I think part of the challenge, and I sent out a tweet last night that you responded to. I'm going to pull it up. It says, I said, Bill Cosby is not innocent. He has not been exonerated. His release means that Cosby, a sexual predator, was incarcerated within a criminal legal system that has as little regard for its own rules and procedures as does Cosby for his victims. And you responded, you said,
he hasn't had any. Law is a baseless accusation. It has no weight.
No, so under the law, I think we're on the same page again. But part of the problem
is in the 4th and 5th grade, not law school. American law means when somebody makes an accusation, that's all it is. It has no weight. If there's probable cause, you have somebody answer the complaint. But if you cannot find someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, they have done nothing. They walk out of there with their presumption of innocence intact. How clear can that be? There is nothing to answer.
I think that
he had a right to remain silent.
I think that part is clear. No, I think that part's clear, Judge. Let me.
I kind of felt sorry for this guy. Does anybody know the reporter's name? Let me tell you guys something. There is something that I have noticed that happens when you're getting older. It's not that you don't want to hear another person out, but there is a thing. Like you just gotta like finish your thought. He has a lot to say. Joe Brown was just running circles around him and redundancy. Like you're gonna learn today, sir. But no, let me be serious. So you said, what effects does the drug have on the female's body? Um, hmm. The effects are it causes an altered mental state. So it removes inhibitions that otherwise would be present in situations where you are gonna make a decision. So it lets you, it relaxes you, makes you feel more free. So you can make the decision to do what you want to do. I mean, I'm not okaying using drugs to use to have sex. I'm not at all. And you know what? I talk to you guys so much about the law. And they're going to have that conversation. And the reality is the law is not always as good and as reliable as we need it to be. So that's the reason I also talk to you guys about personal ethics when it comes to rape culture. So, rape culture is the collective idea in a society around rape. So, if we are people who are okay with people using substances prior to engaging in sexual activity, we are people who okay rape culture, regardless of what the laws are in that territory in which we live. We have to be people that are ethically and morally sound. And that's to go a cut above the legal component, right? Laws aren't always interpretive of what our heart speaks and what we want to see different in the culture around us. It starts with us as a culture of people. So if we are people who recognize and train our kids and cultivate the minds of our young people that, you know what, if you're not, if you're wanting to engage in sex, drugs or alcohol, because you guys, I understand you see it as two separate and distinctive things, okay? Substances are substances to me. But substances cannot be a part of the equation at all. Right now, T.I. and Tiny are under fire for the same exact, maybe maybe it's a cut above Cosby. Two notches above Cosby. Maybe three, okay? So it's a little bit more complex in their case, okay? No, 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 no. You guys got to make better decisions. Okay. When it comes to using substances and everything, I know for me, I'm an outsider looking in and I don't have those personal experiences. But if somebody told me that I couldn't do a particular thing before engaging in sex, and I really wanted to have sex, like really, really wanted to have sex with a person, there is no way I'm going to engage in that particular thing just because I'm like, I don't care if they know for sure that I've done it or not. Maybe they got a way to indicate that I did it and I don't know what that way is. So I'm still caught and I end up not having sex, right? So I think that if our kids have that mindset, like if I use a substance and I really want to engage in sex with this person, like I can't even if I want, you know what I mean? Because I use substances and they can't consent, neither can I. We raping each other out here in these streets. If that's how we cultivate the minds, the hearts, the intentions of our young people, I think that we'd be in a very different climate right now. You see, I don't know why people use illegal drugs just to have sex. So I'm gonna explain that for you, okay? So with some of my sex therapy clients, they you know they also require tantra courses, and people look at tantra as a um sexual thing anyway, but it's more of a spiritual elevation tactic. It's about ritualistic practices that allow you to interweave and align properly the different elements of self, right? So that you can have more fulfilling experiences in life. So not just sex. But oftentimes, just like with polyamorous relationships, the only thing they see is sex. Sex. That's it. Okay. So when they use these drugs allow them to half heartedly achieve the same outcomes as tantric practices. And let me tell you, the tantric practices, that's life. Period. That's all I gotta say. So I can definitely understand feeling the need to alleviate all the anxiety and inhibitions, remove them from the situation, to move into a place that you can really receive the whole act of sex, right? Got it. However, if the act of sex then becomes a criminally punishable thing, for me, I don't want it. I don't want it. So we got to make better choices, okay? So let's just listen to a little bit more of the judge run circles around this poor lad here.
Let me move the conversation
Had the
forward.
burden of proving his guilt. It did not. So he
Right.
stands
So I
acquitted.
guess what right. So what I want to do is just move the conversation up a little bit. I think you and I agree that legally he's not guilty. That legally he doesn't have any burden of proof. The state does, and it hasn't met that. Legally, his rights were violated. We're on the same page about that. I'm saying the legal question to me is rock solid. But I think what was happening yesterday was people were conflating those two things. They were acting as if because the state didn't meet its burden and because he was released based on the fact that he didn't get due process, or his due process rights were violated, that was somehow proof of the belief that many people had that Cosby was actually not just legally
Well,
not guilty.
Okay, I want to make sure that I mention this, okay? Because here's the thing. I told you in the very beginning, there was insufficient evidence to try Cosby from the beginning. So the prosecutor has come on and gone on record. He's gone on record admitting as much. Now, he's like, he just went ahead and he just said it. They were like, well, why would you do this? Why would you do this knowing that you had a signed statement? He was like, well, I knew I couldn't prosecute him on what I had. So I just did what I did. Now that's gonna go towards, this guy's, I'm not sure of this reporter's name, but it goes toward his claim that the justice system is not fair toward black people. And I don't think it's a toward black people thing. I'm just going to be honest. I think it's the justice system is never going to play fair. Period. That's why you have attorneys, because they know that the prosecutor is not going to play fair. So the idea is to get the prosecutor back in line. Like, it's to have somebody that's going to represent you and represent you well, so that you don't have to worry about the unfair games of the judicial process. Yeah, they were definitely wrong. And I mean, ooh, I don't want to talk too much about what I feel just yet about his actions, because I got a talking point for that. But I'm gonna let you guys finish listening to this video and then we'll talk about that.
But actually didn't do anything at the moral and
in
ethical
ignorance.
level. And
So, I
hold,
mean,
hold on one second.
look,
I just want to place.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, hold on. Let me place the question to you. So I guess what I'm saying is, can we hold space for two ideas at the same time? Can someone, under the eyes of the law, be completely not guilty, and at the same time, can we have a public conversation? Because I know you talk about culture, you talk about our community, you talk about values. Can we also talk about the fact that someone can be doing great harm and even be a predator at the same time that legally they're all the things you just said?
No, because the law presumes them innocent until you prove them guilty. It is a specious thing That's part of this new paradigm where everybody gets a trophy, a participation ribbon. Nobody's feelings get hurt. Freedom of speech gets restricted if somebody feels uncomfortable or undelighted by what is being said. That's not our reality.
So let me ask you a question. When George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin and the jury found him not guilty, do you feel that the black community should not have continued to express outrage and call George Zimmerman a killer because under the law he was innocent?
They should express outrage with themselves for lacking such political influence in the selection of the district attorney or in the even weight assigned to them. See, the rules are the same. But from my perspective, I think of all the black folk that have called me over the last 35 of jury service, all of the black folk that voted a handout where you've got a racist idiot on that handout for judge and they don't even pay attention to who's on the ballot. I think of all of the black folk who don't go out and vote for sheriff or effectively for mayor or for the district attorney and complain about it. See, when you have an opportunity to do something about it, do it. And see, most of the people that are off in the penitentiaries are not in there for playing Robin Hood. They robbed from their neighbors, burglarized their neighbors, killed their neighbors, raped their neighbors, sold poison to their neighbors. And the other thing is, it's not guns. It's not any excuse. It's we have got a lack of manhood and masculinity in our neighborhoods. See, masculinity is the imposition of a set of behavioral standards on a boy. So when the boy grows into a man, he has some things he has to do that he cannot get away with, that he is compelled to look to, making where he lives a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, morality, and ethics. He is a man of public peace, dignity, and order, who is a man of peace, who can be a brave and courageous man when necessary. See, we have to start
Judge,
taking
let me
our
pause you for a
neighborhoods
minute.
back.
We're going to take a Judge. I want to hear
Okay.
more about that, Judge. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break and bring you right back. I'm going to push you on some of those things as well. Stay with me. We got more Black News Tonight coming up right after this.
All right, so tell me, what are you guys thinking? How do you feel about what Joe Brown was just saying about the personal lack of personal accountability standards in our community? How do you feel about that and how we respond to rape culture as well? Because the reality is this: there are a lot of things that we see our black and brown brothers doing in our community, and we do not step in. We do not do things, don't do our part. We don't say anything. We do turn a blind eye. And there are some of us who even protect the people who are, committing these crimes, because they're our family members and our friends and people that we care about personally or whatever. But so I think that there does have to be a certain level of accountability when it comes to us saying, okay, well, maybe we're not doing our due diligence in raising our kids to be responsible enough and responsive enough to how they are self regulating or self managing. Okay. So I got to go back on that one piece where he said, Joe Brown did not, I think he was just emotionally, written at the moment. So he was in his emotions. I'm just going to say that because I know the judge to be a person who is logical and pragmatic, much like myself. So I'm just gonna hope that that was just an emotional moment when he said, "Well, we can't hold to frames of thought to be true." So a person can definitely be a full on rapist, criminal of any kind, and still legally be exonerated of the charges because the prosecution doesn't have sufficient evidence to convince a jury to convict that person of said crime. Okay. So it doesn't mean they didn't do it. So I don't think anybody here is saying, okay, you know what? Bill Cosby never drugged anybody. Nay, nay. We're not saying that. Okay. What we're saying is the justice system did not render due process properly in his particular case. Okay. So, is he wrong for what he was doing, though? And I do think that we do have to have a separate conversation as a community of Black people who has an outstanding history of standing behind our Black brothers who commit rape against women, whether it's sexual abuse against our kids, or sexual abuse against us, or sexual assault against other people. So we do have to be accountable for that thing, okay? And like I mentioned with the Kobe Bryant case, there were some guys on here and they were like, no, 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 not Kobe. And Kobe's dead and you can't dishonor Kobe. Kobe Bryant admitted to his portions that definitely constituted rape while alive. Apparently can't admit to it now, which is why he settled and gave the young lady her money, because he wanted her to, get therapy and to heal and be functional. Do men sometimes commit acts of rape without knowing that that's what they're doing in the moment? Of course. Do women sometimes commit acts of rape and don't know that that's what they're doing in the moment? Of course. And the reason behind that, just like Joe Brown said, laws are different in different states. And so ethical and moral guidelines are also different because the laws are different. And typically, people allow the laws to guide the way that they shape their efficacy and their moral standards around what they do. Let's pull up Lisa's comment again. I say he was wrong for doing it without their consent. I say he was wrong for drugging them, period. Because some of the people he had their consent. They knew. But I think that he was wrong for doing it, period. I think that even when women are like, you know what, where's the X? Let's pop some X so we can get it. I don't I don't no. I don't support that at all. I don't care if they want it or not. If you want, this is how I want the men to leave this particular segment thinking. If you want the ass, leave the drugs. So it doesn't matter what she wants, okay? If you want it and you know she want it now, and she's like, well, you know what? Let me just take a little something before we get started. Whatever she says. I don't know what y'all do. Apparently, I've never used drugs a day in my life. Whatever she says when it's time for the drugs to come into play. I want you to be like, well, you know what? I would like to have sex with you, knowing that you're of your own full sound body, mind, and spirit. So I don't want these drugs to take away from our experience. I want to experience you fully. Is that too corny? Is that too corny? I don't know, maybe. But if a guy told me that, and we were about to get down and dirty and do it, right? Close off immediately. What? You want to experience me fully? Let's just naked under the moon and the stars. I don't know. But you got to realize that it says that the man is more into you versus just into the act of sex. So, guys, I may have given you some game there. Who knows? But essentially, women want to know that the man wants to be with them. And then in the cases where you guys okay and then normalize the use of substances as a means to get into having sex, you become further and further disconnected. That's just what it is. So let's watch some more of this video.
We're talking Bill Cosby and the aftermath of his case. I'm here with Judge Joe Brown. Judge, again, early in the conversation, we sort of stipulated to the legal parts of this, and we both agree that everyone deserves the right to due process, and no one should be sitting in prison or jail for something that they either didn't do or if their rights are violated, or both. But you've also raised this interesting question that I think is worth unpacking a bit, and that's about ethics and morality within the Black community and holding each other accountable and talking about manhood and masculinity. If we, again, assuming Bill Cosby doesn't take the legal stuff off the table, if we look at the depositions, the very thing that got him ultimately, the thing that ultimately got him locked up, and those depositions, and he's talking about the various women he had sex with giving them alcohol and pills, whether it's Quaaludes or Benadryl. If you look at the dozens of women who come forward and accuse him, is there room to say, look, Bill Cosby can come home because the prosecutor was wrong, but Bill Cosby also has to be accountable for what he represents and for acts of and for predator-like behavior?
What about these women being accountable for their own behavior? They were groupies. Well, sex, drugs, rock and roll, sex, drugs, rap, sex, drugs, baseball, football, basketball, movies, television. See,
yeah, but right now I'm talking about Bill Cosby. I'm saying
we forgot what that term meant: sex, drugs, rock and roll. The bimbos come to the party, they hang out, they get drunk, they snort lines of blow, and they have a good time. They use the hall closets to give head, the bathrooms to get down, and you go in to get your coat off of the bed, and they're laying on top of it doing somebody. See, that's what that's about. So,
yeah, but Judge, it has to be consensual, though.
30, 40, 50 years after something was in big time style. When this stuff started out, the sexual revolution was going on. And a lot of women got into it deeply.
Okay, but so there's two things you raised. But first, let's talk about Bill Cosby. We can talk about the women, but let's talk about Bill Cosby. Let's talk about Bill Cosby for a second, because that's the person we're talking about. My question was, is there room to what did he do? Well, according to the deposition, he gave women pills, and in one deposition, he specifically said he didn't know whether.
Force it down their throat,
let me finish.
He didn't take advantage of them. Look at that interview Whoopi Goldberg did with that model Johnson. Whoopi got all so wait a minute. You're trying to tell me that
hold on, Judge. Let me ask the question.
Found out you were high, he called a cab, took the elevator down with you, put you in the cab, paid your fare, tipped the man, and sent you home because you were high? So what did he do?
So in one deposition, so Judge, in one deposition specifically, when he was asked the question, was he sure that the woman was sober enough to consent? He said, "I don't know." But there's a bigger question here: is if someone willingly takes pills and becomes high and drunk, can they legally consent?
Sometimes you can. Used to be you could. They had a change in there back 25 years ago when they were saying, no, you can't. But before that, basically, you could. That's why they told you.
But we're talking about the law. So then, Judge, again, since you're saying we should appeal to the law, if the law says that you can't be
intoxication, where you did something to them they didn't consent to. See, that's when that law started changing from you got yourself drunk, you are responsible to know the bartender's responsible because he lets you get drunk. That's when that change started coming
Bill
about.
Cosby's admitting to giving women alcohol and pills for the purpose of having sex. And if by the law you can't consent if you're drunk or high.
You go out to dinner or you have a party or something. So
yeah, but that's not the same. That's irrelevant, Judge.
Because they do something they would have done anyway. A whole lot of them I knew back in the years
that's sexual assault, Judge.
Particularly Quaaludes. They did that a lot. I had a lot of female clients I had to get out of messes because they had a fondness for Quaaludes. It's not cool, but
it's okay to take.
Don't you bear any responsibility for this, especially if you keep going back?
So, Judge, let me. I want to lay this out plainly, and I'll give you a chance to respond. I'll even give you the last word. If you give someone drugs and alcohol, even if they want to take the drugs and alcohol, if they get to a point where they are inebriated, where they are high or drunk, you cannot have sex with them. It is not sex, it becomes rape. And even by the
That's
legal
only the
standard that you're
law
saying
in
we should
certain
appeal to,
states. That's only the
okay,
law in certain
okay,
states.
okay.
It's not for every state. And it goes into
You're
this
saying it's
same
rape in some states.
philosophy. It
Right,
goes
but
into
let
this
me finish
same
and then I'll
thing.
give you the
I
last
didn't
word.
know I was going to get
Well,
that drunk, so it ain't my fault. I got a DUI and kill somebody. How you think that's going to float?
Right, but the difference is
And
the
plus,
drunk
you
person has a
have people
responsibility to
on
not.
the East Coast who want a
The
new
drunk person has a
category of
responsibility
felony
not to
rape.
get into the
It's called
car,
rape
but
by
the drunk person
seduction.
does not have a
In other words, you
responsibility
take a
not to
woman
give the
out and you
responsibility.
decide to
If
have
we're
a good
talking about
meal, linen,
if we're
candlelight,
talking about
wine, dine.
responsibility,
You go for a walk in the park, my place or yours. Get over there, kissy, kissy, poo, seduction, clothes come off. Everybody has a good time. This crowd wants that to be called
this isn't everybody
felony
isn't having a
rape
good
by
time. One person's
seduction.
being assaulted, right? But what I'm saying, Judge, is, and I
Nobody's,
got to
see,
run.
that's the point. He never admitted to what he did, was accused of, which is
How many people in your courtroom admitted
unlawfully.
to what they did
All
that
he
were
did was
guilty?
they
Do
asked
you say
for
that?
it. I supplied it. They wanted it.
Okay,
That's
this is
like put
just
some
flat out rape
candles
at this
on and
point.
some incense when we do it. Let's go out and have
No,
a
it's
fine meal. Some Pinot Noir,
giving some.
some
This is
Cabernet
disgusting.
Sauvignon
Giving
to go
somebody.
with the prime rib and the lobster. And then we, after we leave the 5-star restaurant, we got a nice walk in the park.
This honestly is, with all due respect, is the most disturbing interview I've ever had in my life.
No, but see,
The idea
you
that
are
we're
into this thing where everybody's got to be protected. This society does not work when the society's obligation is to protect somebody from being stupid. You protect somebody's
no to protect
rights
somebody from being
to
raped, but we got to
exercise
go,
their
Judge Joe Brown.
discretion
We can have a
appropriately,
conversation, but
but
I
you
got
can't
to run
protect them
commercial break.
from
I'm way
themselves.
past commercial
Just
break.
like you can't protect
I'm,
somebody from
I,
liability for killing someone in a fatal DUI because the bartender didn't stop
I got you,
serving them
Judge.
when they kept
Unfortunately,
asking.
unfortunately, I got to run. We're way past commercial break. I know you understand that. Thank you for joining the
Okay.
show. Let us know what you're thinking.
So, what are you guys thinking? What are you guys thinking? What are you guys thinking about the comment around the consent part? Joe Brown was commenting to the shifts in the law, the legality around consent, and this young man, I think, was more or less, talking about the ethical part. So Quaaludes were very, very popular back in the 60s, okay? Just gonna say the 60s and 70s era, they were extremely popular. And it was meant, like I said, to calm you down, to, reduce all that anxiety, remove the inhibitions. That's what they do. Literally. Like I I have a natural ability to channel my energy. So I would never use drugs because my thing is like whatever mood I need to be in, I can be in the mood for the party because the energy is going to be right and it's going to put me where I need to be. Now, even though there were some questions around what are some of the longitudinal damages to the female body and things like that, there are no long-term damages as a result of people taking Quaaludes, maybe like once or twice, right? But we know that if you take it on a consistent basis, if it's something that you become addicted to, so to say, and oftentimes, I'm not gonna lie, like this was a thing at parties because it's like it slows down your heart rate. um it creates this whole the world is slowing down effect, releases your muscles contractions or whatever. So if you're having sex and you're taking a quaalude, if we had to look at what happens in the human body, especially the female body, female anatomy, if a male is, if he has a larger penis, he's definitely going to be able to enter the body more freely. And also the inhibitions are down, and where it operates, you're going to be turned on. So it can increase your libido as well. So if you're taking it and you become addicted, and then as a result, this person has liver and kidney damages and things like these are things that we would have seen over the course of the case being presented. Obviously, this attorney, the prosecutor, didn't have this. That's why he never used it in the case. So you can't say that, hey, this dude has a history of doing this and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, when it comes to consent, I gotta admit, we can't be on the fence about consent. If we're on the fence about consent and we're not changing the way our culture responds to rape allegations or rape culture, then we're a part of the problem. So that leads me to talk to you guys about R. Kelly discussions. Because, in sending this, a lot of people tie the two in for me. I'm going to make this very clear. The reason that I do not stand behind the host of allegations against R. Kelly is because he's already gone through his process, okay, on these charges. And so I feel like what's happening is we continue to try to beat a dead horse. If you lose the first time, lose and keep it moving. Let this man live out his life. Apparently, there's nothing criminally wrong that has happened here that you can prove. So it's not to say that R. Kelly hasn't done anything that's not morally or ethically on the fence. It's to say that he's already gone through the legal process for these things when they happen, which is a more appropriate time for you to explore these charges. So if they ask for it, give it to them. Shaking my head, damn. If you do, damn. If you don't, I feel like you gotta be careful in making that decision though. Like that's not what you can't make good decisions like that. You know what I mean? So let's talk about R. Kelly. Let's bring up this info on R. Kelly's allegations and things like that. Cause I wanna paint this picture. I wanna take you guys through this. And I know I got some viewers that are young and you guys were probably teenagers during this time. You could have probably been a person that was like a huge fan of R. Kelly yourself, and maybe this would have been an opportunity for you. It just wasn't a missed opportunity or whatever have you. I don't know. But let's talk about the history. Right. Right. I agree. I agree. And it makes it so difficult. Oh, you guys. Aaliyah is she's always been so beautiful. Like amazing, stunning. I miss her so much. So there we go. Let's go all the way to the very beginning, y'all. History of allegations from BBC News. Okay. Can you guys see this? I'll read it. For more than 2 decades, R&B singer R. Kelly has faced allegations of sexual abuse. The story goes back to the start of his career in the 1990s, with many centering it around the alleged predatory pursuit of teenage girls. He is currently facing multiple state and federal charges in the United States, with accusations including sexual assault, abuse of a minor, making indecent images of a minor, racketeering, and obstruction of justice. The 52-year-old has consistently denied the claims. Now, I want you guys to make sure you notice that it's 52. Y'all are now here after Kevin Samuels. Hello. You have to look, Kevin Samuels is targeting women that are younger. Okay. All right. All right. All right. He was 27 when he married Aaliyah at 15. That's just 12 years. Look, Kevin Samuels out here trying to get your 23-year-old daughters. But let's take this seriously, okay? So my issue with R. Kelly, let me talk about it when I get to it, okay? So they mentioned that he was let me highlight this so you guys can see it. He was a victim of child sex abuse himself and detailed it in his autobiography about how he was raped by a female family member when he was 8 years old. And this isn't something that's uncommon. It happens. So let's talk about this part right here. In 94, he marries Aaliyah. He was 27 years old. She was 15, almost 16. Um, they learned that Aaliyah had lied on the wedding certificate about her age, listing herself as 18 so she could get married. The marriage was annulled in 95 in February. Okay. Now, what's interesting is they don't mention Aaliyah's parents and their consent to their relationship. Okay. For the rest of his career, her career, Aaliyah dodged questions about the nature of her relationship. When people ask me, I tell them, hey, don't believe all that mess. So what she told one interviewer. We're close and people took it the wrong way. All right. So here's the receipts. You know, everybody like the receipts. Yeah, yeah. Kelly has rarely spoken about Aaliyah since she died in the plane crash in 2001. She is not mentioned in his autobiography, where an author's note explains certain episodes could not be included for complicated reasons. That's why it was left out. In a 2016 interview with GQ magazine, he described their relationship as best friends, but declined to comment on their marriage, saying, I will never have the conversation with anyone out of respect for Aaliyah and her mother and father, who asked me not to personally. And that's one of the reasons. Okay, so let's get down here to 96. Couple years later, sued for emotional distress, people. So let's talk about the emotional distress that happens in relationships. Tiffany Hawkins sues R. Kelly for the personal injuries and emotional distress she suffered during a 3-year relationship with the star. Man, I'm going to go sue everybody I had a relationship with because I was emotionally distressed. Where did he get these people? In court documents, she said she began having sex with Kelly in 1991 when she was 15 and he was 24. He's always liked his women about at least 10 years younger. I love it. Um, and the relationship ended 3 years later when she turned 18. Now, if you're looking at that, most would think, well, maybe he just likes teeny boppers because they can't do certain things and there are limits there. So it speaks to the potential trauma effects of maybe R. Kelly's sexual abuse and how he felt that he needed to be in control of certain things of these ladies. All right. Let's see. Kelly's spokeswoman had no knowledge of the accusations that were made. By the way, Hawkins was seeking $10 million in damages, but accepted a fraction of the amount, $250,000, when the case was settled in '98. But you're gonna take the money, but you really are emotionally distressed. So, 2001, he was sued by an intern. You know what happens? Me Too movement. I see you want to do it. I'm gonna come do it too. I'm coming after you too. Tracy Sampson sues R. Kelly, accusing him of inducing her into an indecent sexual relationship when she was 17 years. First of all, you're a little old. You're a little old. But no, seriously. When she was 17 years old. The woman, a former intern at Epic Records, claimed she was treated as his personal sex object and cast aside. Woman scorn. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Tracy Sampson, if that seems disingenuous, if it seems like, I don't care about your emotional turmoil or whatever. But the reality is, women sometimes we're sometimes a woman scorned because men will do what men do. And men are typically very irresponsible with their energy, with their sexual energy, and that's the thing, that's a norm in American culture. When they're done having sex with you, if you've given them sex, it comes with the territory, right? So if it's a casual sexual event and you've given in to that, you've consented to that and participated in that, then they will typically discard you. Is it right? Of course not. Absolutely not. But should you have the right to sue him as a result? Like, we would have so many lawsuits and so many beyond broke men if this were how the justice system worked. Okay. Now, I talked to you guys. I told y'all he had a control issue. He often tried to control every aspect of my life, including who I would see and where I would go, she said in her legal case against him. The case was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum. Man, this guy is like the freaking charity movement. April and May 2002, two more court cases. Kelly is sued for a third time by Patrice Jones. Okay, here we go. This is where it gets interesting. A Chicago woman who claims he impregnated her when she was underage and that she was forced to have an abortion. Let me move this to the side. The feminist movement, love that. Love what? I gotta move y'all to the side so I can at least still see your comments. Okay. Oh, I can't see them while I'm in the screen. So, a woman named Montina Woods also sued Kelly, alleging that he videotaped them having sex without her knowledge. The recording was allegedly circulated on an R. Kelly sex tape sold by bootleggers under the title R. Kelly Triple X. I totes remember that. Man, and that's rough. That's rough. It really is. Okay. So man, the star settled both cases out of court, paying an undisclosed. Man, he is a charity case. He's giving out money to everybody. Everybody go to R. Kelly and claim emotional distress. Just everybody. God. I just don't understand how somebody on R. Kelly's team at this point didn't tell him, dude, right now, this ain't it. We got to stop doing this because you are an entire your whole move for these women. Hey, Faith, how are you? Yeah, but I just don't, I talk about your team, the people that you have in your circle all the time. He just ain't have the right. R. Kelly messed up where he started doing these recordings, okay? That's just what I'm going to say. Okay, so jump into June 2002, charged over child pornography. The star is charged with 21 counts of making child pornography involving intercourse, oral sex, urination, and other acts sexually. Those he was into some stuff that BDSM will get you up banged up. Okay. Chicago police accused him of videotaping each of these acts and enticing minors to participate in them. All of the charges related to one girl born in September 1984. I'm sure you guys remember that. His arrest stemmed from a video which was sent anonymously to the Chicago Sun-Times earlier in the year. They passed it on to the police, who verified the authenticity of the tape and with help from FBI forensic experts. Do you guys remember when he was like, "It wasn't me"? This is it. This is it. I thought that was really cool. Kelly, who posted a $750,000 bail, immediately denied the charges in an interview with MTV and later pled not guilty in court. It took, now you have to understand what he's denying. Okay, when he says he's not guilty, what he's saying is, he didn't do child pornography. I encourage education and elevation for our young black men all the time. Understand the legal component to everything that you decide to do in your life socially. It took 6 years for the case to come to trial, during the which time Kelly was released. He released his wildest successfully trapped in the closet album, and I so felt like that was therapy for him, and was nominated for an Image Award by the NAACP. Good God, think of how they feeling right now. I'm a drink of water. Mm, that's new news to me, y'all. You know I normally have all the deets, not that one. Woo, child. Well, it's a good thing they nominated Tabitha Brown this year. Oh man. Oh man. What does that say about us? Mm-mm. The jury eventually concluded they could not prove that the girl on the tape was a minor, and Kelly was not. He was found not guilty on all. He was not found guilty, you guys. So I agree with them. There's no way to know for sure this girl was a minor. It's no way to know for sure. Yeah, right. So he was already tried and he was found not guilty. Why are we still bothering this guy? 2002 to 2004 arrest prompt further charges. Kelly is charged with a further 12 counts of making child pornography in Florida, where he was arrested at his holiday home. These charges came after police seized a camera during the arrest, which allegedly contained images of the star having sex with an underage girl. The charges were dropped when a judge agreed that Kelly's defense team that police lacked sufficient evidence to justify a search. Man, gotta look at the justice system, how it is 100% on the side of these black men. Okay. Allegations of a cult. You will come up with anything. 2017. Hello. Welcome to the Me Too movement, Kelly. People felt a little, inclined to bring you right back in. Okay. The article alleges that Kelly seduced young women when they approached him for help with their music careers before taking control of their lives, dictating what they eat, how they dress, when they bathe, when they sleep, and how they engage in sexual encounters that he records. Oh man, they're starting to sound more and more like Kevin Samuels now. Cause this is where he going. He trying to tell y'all everything. Let me stop. No, that was a joke. That was a joke. Yeah, what's your dress? Let him sizing you up for this upcoming feature. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like he casting them for a movie of sorts, right? And he talks about a woman's sexual market value. Y'all not listening. Y'all not listening though. So the allegations came from three former employees and the parents of several women who said their daughters had all but vanished. Now, if parents cannot keep track of where their kids are, that is not R. Kelly's problem. I'm not serious. I'm so not serious. But we do need to do a better job of trying to raise girls who have a higher level of regard for their parents and their parents very harsh judgments of their lives, like during identity crisis. So Kelly strenuously denies the story, which was written by Jim DeRogatis, and who was doggedly what is that, covered the allegations against the singer for 2 decades. Oh man, you were really into him. All of the women cited in the article were of legal age. One later denied the claims that she was being held against her will. Now, perception has a lot to do with the way that these people write these stories up. So I always say, like, be careful what you say when you're talking about experiences with people that are in the limelight and other people want to take them down. So, what I'll say is this. I think the Me Too movement had a large had a lot to do with this even coming about. I'm just going to say it. That's just what it is. So this girl says, I'm not being brainwashed or anything like that. She was 21 years old. Her name was Jocelyn Savage in a video called a TMZ. However, she would not reveal where she was speaking from nor the nature of her relationship with Kelly. Now, that could speak to the fact that maybe she was under duress or pressure or something like that. I know that they said the guy that runs TMZ is like a lawyer, right? So, R. Kelly's lawyer, Linda Minch, also issued a strongly worded denial saying the star was alarmed and disturbed at the recent revelations and would work diligently and forcefully to pursue his accusers and clear his name. Oh, man. Leading up to all of this, you guys, oh, victims approach the press. So, this is what Joe Brown was referring to, mob justice. Literally, mob. What are y'all doing? So, follow me. Follow me. I'm getting somewhere. So, Geronda Pace breaks a non disclosure agreement to speak about having sex with Kelly while she was underage. Another woman, Kitty Jones, claimed the star starved her, coerced her into sexual encounters with other women, and physically abused her. Kitty, along with other members of R. Kelly's inner circle, also spoke to BBC Three documentary in March 2018. One former friend and collaborator, Lavelle Jones, said that Kelly asked him to scout out women that looked young at parties and claimed that it was a common knowledge that the singer preferred young girls. Again, Kelly denied the allegations. Maybe R. Kelly is just saying the same thing that Kevin Samuel says. No older man wants to pursue an older woman. He prefers a woman who's soft and subtle and doesn't have any scars, unless they're scars that were put there by him. I said what I said. 2018. Man, you guys. Mute Kelly. Mute R. Kelly, staff departures and new court cases. The Mute R. Kelly campaign lobbies record label RCA to sever ties with the singer. They also target concert promoters, ticket sellers, and streaming services, with Spotify, Apple Music, and Pandora all agreeing to demote Kelly's songs from their playlist, a decision that was later reversed. Because guess what? I banned the motherfuckers. Like, I'm not about to, you're not going to take good music off just because this dude has a sketchy history. Now, that's another thing. Just because R. Kelly is this guy who obviously lived a double life of some sorts and had a totally different personality behind the scenes, because his music shows him as a lover, very mild in his approach and things like that. And then, like, if he was out here, and I saw the tapes, like, I saw the tapes. Okay, it's no if about it. It was definitely him pissing on girls and defecating on girls, and things like that. If these are things that are happening, he's definitely a very gross person. But everybody has their kinks. That's my perception of him, not his music. So I'm sorry, you guys, vilify me, hang me out to dry, whatever, but I personally didn't agree with this. Okay. Kelly continued to perform live despite protests outside his shows and was filmed saying the campaign against him was too late. And I agree. Totally agree. Apparently, he's changed his life. He's moved into more productive, spaces in life in general. So why are you guys Me Too movementing him? That's yeah. Meanwhile, he was sued by a former partner who said he intentionally infected her with a sexually transmitted disease. This, this, that you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. Representative denies. The star later baited his critics by releasing a song called I Admit It, in which he confessed to being sexually unfaithful and documented his own experience of abuse, but denied accusation of pedophilia and operating a sex cult. So, a couple of things here. Pedophilia is when a person has a sexual preference or sexual attraction to a person of prepubescent age. Okay. So that would say that R. Kelly would have an attraction to these young girls before they've had their period and stepped into womanhood. And this is typically the ages of 9 and 11, before age 9 and 11. So if he were targeting these particular girls, then pedophilia would have been an appropriate thing for you guys to say. And so the reality is he's 100% not guilty, because that's just not what it is. A sex cult. What are we saying? Like, he had a couple of people that he was interested in engaging in sex with. Those ladies happened to be young. His preference was for young women that were subtle and soft and all that good stuff. So if if you guys want to crucify and arrest R. Kelly for this, go ahead and arrest Kevin Samuels too. It's just what he prefers. I don't think that it's necessarily right or wrong. It's not my business, but accountability wise, I'm gonna say, R. Kelly, you definitely want to review your ethics and your morality code around how you move with women and what women you move with in those ways. Okay, that's he's saying only God can mute me. Am I supposed to go to jail or lose my career because of your opinion? Oh, I was just saying that before I even saw it. I'm with it. Totally support that guy. Woo! 2019. Documentaries will sometimes get you screwed up. Stay away from people in their reporting efforts. Oh my God. Best of both worlds. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. 2019. Okay. Hold on. Let me look. Oh, Lisa speaking to Faith. Okay. So, over the course of 6 long episodes, the Lifetime documentaries surviving R. Kelly, by the way, I didn't watch it, I refuse, presents the most comprehensive look yet at the allegations against the musician. The final 2 segments are particularly harrowing, featuring stark testimony from his accusers and footage of parents attempting to rescue daughters they haven't seen for years. While many of these stories are familiar, the documentary rams home the argument that R. Kelly was enabled by those around him. Now, I do agree to that. And I also feel like a lot of these young ladies targeted R. Kelly. And I know that you guys really feel a way about the Me Too movement or whatever. But you know what? I'm here for accountability. This platform is about accountability. So these young ladies who targeted him, and the report says it, for the purpose of furthering their music career. If I know that a person has a sexual fetish, okay, for young women or young looking women, I'm a very young looking woman, you know. If you don't think it, screw you. Just playing. You're entitled to your opinion though. But I know that I'm a sexy woman, okay? So if I decided to target this guy, let's call this guy Greg, right? Somebody came to me and said, Lakiana, Greg over there has like $50 million that he's given out to women. All you got to do is look good. Like, oh, what I got to look good and what else? What's the deets? Give me all the deets. Okay, so every once in a while, he's gonna want to touch on your ass because you have a nice ass. I might say, okay, well, what else? Every once in a while, he's gonna want to see you naked. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. There are cameras everywhere. You never know what's gonna see what and what. No, I'm just not doing it. Why? Because my personal ethics, regardless of how easy this money looks, okay, I'm just not doing it. Just not doing it. My personal ethics aren't gonna allow me to. You know why? There are people like R. Kelly out here, like taking videos and stuff without your knowledge. And I know some of them. Like, I know people, I know men who take sexual videos and record sexual instances of themselves with women. Like, I know them personally. Ew. And I'm out here and I'm like, dude, you a whole creep. Does she know you did this? I need you to get rid of that footage because like she could sue you one day if she finds out you got it. Like, that's the type of friend I am. That's why I said people in R. Kelly's immediate circle, R. Kelly, if you watch this, my guy, fire all they ass. All of them. You're gonna beat these charges for sure. When you're out, fire all of them. Nobody's your friend. Nobody is your family, especially your ex-wife. Just part ways with them all, live another life, stop having sex on camera. What is this obsession that you have with seeing yourself on camera? Like, that says something, a lot of things. Like, I'd like to explore that. Find a therapist, explore what your sexual deviations are, and get yourself together, guy. Like, you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot, apparently. He said, no, there will not be a surviving. I will not go on record saying what is in my mind right now when seeing who made the comment that said in a couple of years there'll be a surviving Bill Cosby. Okay, I'm not gonna go on record saying what's in my mind in response to Jermaine's comment. I can't because it's not, in no way is it right. Have you you guys don't bait me in. Nobody's gonna do that. Have you seen Bill Cosby's accusers in that recent video when they talk? I showed it. I showed it. I know you've seen it. I'm not gonna go there. I can't even old lady. Stop. So let's get here, okay? That's the way it is, said his former tour manager, Demetrius Smith. We worked for him. That is what he wanted. And so this is what we're supposed to give him. Who's out there religious? Who's out there religious and remember the words of the Bible in relation to the archangel Michael and Lucifer, and what was said about, some of the angels are willing to give God what he wants, but the other angel was willing to see past what he wanted and give God what he needed. Somebody say amen. 2 weeks after the program and is broadcast, Kelly is dropped by his record company. Planned concerts in the US and New Zealand are canceled. He said they always do us black men like that. It's sad. It really is. In February, celebrity lawyer Michael Avenatti says he has obtained a video showing Kelly having sex with a 14-year-old girl. Weeks later, the star is charged in Chicago with. Now, I want you guys to go back to where those original charges were. 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. He pleads not guilty and defends himself in a histrionic TV interview here. It's okay. Wait, let me go back up here. You guys remember where he got off? This is what I'm talking about. Do y'all remember when he got off? Anybody? Yeah, yeah. No, no. Nay, nay. Nay, nay. We're gonna go to it right now. Where are you? Where are you? Arrest. Okay. Hold on. Let me look at your comment. But they can't give me a detective name they spoke with, so a detective can never take the story. Exactly, but wait. Nay, nay. I want you guys to just do your due diligence. Chicago police. There we go. Here we go. I got a real big feeling that he's been arrested over what he's already been found not guilty on. Because here it says there was no way they could conclude the girl on the videotape was a minor. Here it says in Chicago, he was arrested for being on video, having sex with this minor. Okay. Prosecutors later filed an additional 11 charges of sexual assault and abuse against a minor aged between 13 and 16. Same thing. The charging document describes sex and oral sex with a minor by the use of force or threat of force. I really want you guys to really think about this. Outside of the huge miscarriage of justice that I see them continuously doing in the R. Kelly case, because if you look at it, just like Joe Brown mentioned in the Cosby case, this mob justice thing, there is a reason why you wait for a while and there is due process in prosecuting a case, especially when the cases become very large. The idea is to avoid any biases, right? And so in this kind of case, you really can't afford. There is no way that R. Kelly is going to get a fair trial here. There is no way. However, there is the potential for a mistrial to happen. So I hope his legal team is on top of their game so they see the same holes that I see in the government's control of the media's outpour of coverage on this case. So if you've heard things and you've had a chance to have a biased purview of this particular situation, you're not supposed to be able to sit on the jury. How many people do you think we're going to be able to find that fit in that category? Yeah. So now we move to sex trafficking because let me tell you guys what this says. What this says is in 2019, where we've already packed on more charges, and now we're still looking for additional charges. It says that we don't believe that these charges are going to stand in court. Like once we go to court, like, yeah, we've been able to hold him now. But once we go to court, no jury is going to convict with what we have. So let's find some more charges while he's locked up. That's what that means. Yeah. So now we're going to go after him for sex trafficking. In July, Kelly is hit with two separate federal indictments in Illinois and Brooklyn. Combined, the allegations depict an organized effort from the star and his associates to recruit and transport underage girls over state lines for illegal sex purposes, including the production of child pornography. We're still talking about the same charges, essentially, just to let you guys know. Right. So even the nuns and the priests, right? They're not, no, because they're going to be biased from the jump. They believe you shouldn't be having sex. Nuns are literally married to God. They definitely don't believe in you having sex. Priests take a vow of celibacy or abstinence, should I say, because they can't get married. So yeah. So man, so I agree. His lawyer is definitely positioning himself in a good spot because he says that this guy is looking forward to his day in court because the reality is this: like you cannot continue to try to prosecute a guy for something that he was found not guilty of in the past by way of you having insufficient evidence to prove that this young lady has the marks of a child. There's no way for them to know her age in this video, you know? So, you know, it is what it is. So I feel like if we're looking at all of this stuff, look at this: bail denied, trial denied. I mean, delayed. Come on. August 2020, witness tampering and prison assault. In August, three of Kelly's associates are charged with attempting to intimidate, harass, or pay off alleged victims in the racketeering case against the singer. Prosecutors say one victim was offered 500 grand to buy her silence, although no money was ultimately exchanged. How do we even know this stuff is true? According to the judge, he's innocent until proven guilty, and I stand by R. Kelly. Another was threatened with the release of sexually explicit photos, and the third woke up to find her car had been set alight in her driveway. Good grief. How do we know that has anything to do with R. Kelly though? Like these things, this guy is in jail apparently, and we don't know that this has anything to do with him. So I think that it's a to assume that this has something to do with R. Kelly is just foul, beyond reaching. So, and you're talking about you said somebody offered you a $500,000 to not say nothing. This other one talking about she was threatened with photos being released, pornography. Honey, if you've had sex on video with him already, then yeah, you don't care about your naked pictures being released. Just stop. The charges filed in New York do not indicate whether Kelly authorized the actions, and the star's lawyer denies any involvement. I would too. He hasn't attempted to intimidate anyone or encourage anyone else to do so, says Stephen Greenberg. No involvement whatsoever. First of all, let me tell you something. If there was somebody that he had doing some work on the outside for him, he would have to be able to contact them, right? The dude is literally in jail. You guys could make these ridiculous arguments if he was not in prison. But let me tell you something about the prison system, folks. The prison systems open up the mail and they read the mail before they distribute the mail to the inmates. So they know what's coming in. They also read the mail before it's going out. So just God. A week later, Kelly is allegedly assaulted by a fellow inmate in Chicago's Metropolitan Correctional Center. This is terrible. I think that they are doing a gross miscarriage of justice against R. Kelly, and they have now compromised this man's safety. This is terrible. Like, no. Exactly. Somebody needs to hear his attorney on this argument because guess what? While you guys are putting up all those signs and rallying for everything, blah, 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 you were rallying behind George Floyd. R. Kelly is in danger and people could hurt him. Literally. He could be hurt in prison because he doesn't have any means to adequately protect himself. So, my thing is this: he's already gone to court on these charges. He's already been found to be not guilty. this this has got to stop. This has got to stop. We've got to stop targeting people just because it fits our agenda. Period. Just because the Me Too movement is a thing doesn't mean that we need to target people. Now, like I told you guys before, I feel like R. Kelly definitely needs new people in his circle. He needs to fire his entire team because apparently they're not advising him well, and they can't tell him when energy is there to balance him and add value to him, and when they're there to juice him and take from him. And maybe he has an issue with sexual Forturistic disorder or something like that. Who am I to know? Okay. But the reality is his sexual disorders have nothing to do with his criminal behavior. And I don't feel like he should be charged again for crimes that he's already been charged for. He's already gone to jail, to court, to all that stuff. We've gone through that whole process. Yes, it's double jeopardy. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And now he's in danger. Like, if somebody kills this man, this is going to be a seriously terrible day for our community. We have to do better than this. We just do. I feel like, there are a lot of people who do evil out here, but there are also people who look like they do evil, and these people are actually targeted because they make a really good fall guy. And they're an easy target for these young women out here. Kevin Samuel supports them all the time. Workers, escorts, and things like that. Yeah, you're paying them for discretion. What do you think that is? Anybody know what it is? It's extortion. And you're willingly participating like a fool. Nobody has grounds to crucify R. Kelly. Period. And you know what? I love his music and I'm going to continue to listen. Do I agree with some of the things that he's done sexually? Of course not, because I'm just not into some of those things. But do I feel like he has a right to do whatever he wants to do within the means of the legal components? He has a right to live his life however disgusting he wants to live his life, and he doesn't have to be held under the scope of us. I think that the feds should let up, realize you lost the battle. He was found not guilty. Let the damn man go. You cannot crucify him. You can't go back and want to try him again for the same things he's already beat. The reality is, you guys are making things unfair, just like you did with Bill Cosby. And at the end of the damn day, somebody needs to be held accountable. Mob justice is not justice at all. It just isn't. If we're a culture of people who say that Emmett Till was unfairly targeted and crucified by a population of people who just wanted to believe that he did it without sufficient evidence, we're the same culture of people who needs to stand behind R. Kelly and say, we will not allow a system unjustly to crucify this man. That, and we've already found that there was no sufficient evidence. It's the thing. I said what I said. So I think that our accountability standards in the Black community need to shift. He said, I bet they will get a black man to hurt him. I think the guy he was attacked by was a black dude. We just got to do better. And it's really not even getting them to do anything. Because guess what? Nobody makes you make your mind up and form these unfair judgments against other people. Like, you make your own mind up to go that way. You do. Yeah, it's 100% you. So let's check out some of the comments you guys left while I was doing my reading in the other screen. Black male insecurity. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. I think I've talked about that a bit, but I'm all for it. I think I talked about it on somebody else's channel, either Money Boy Trey or Official Urban Therapist. But I'm open. I'm game. Uh, let's. Any other comments? Um, that I didn't see. Okay, awesome. So I feel like, like I said, I feel like we have to be people who are doing a better job at being accountable for what we stand behind instead of just doing the whole bandwagon thing and jumping on the bandwagon, just doing what we think that the world wants to see us do to the detriment of our black men and our black women. We've got to come together for a change and say, you know what? I'm not going to be what the rest of the world is just because the rest of the world is, right? You can be an individual. Get your own individual thoughts. Get your life together, folks, and stop trying to crucify people for just being people and living their life because their life doesn't look like your life, all right? So, with that being said, hopefully I have done my due diligence and hopefully accountability conversations have taken place and you guys understand where I sit. I totally support Judge Joe Brown's decision to speak on Bill Cosby's situation and the way that he spoke on it because, like I tell you guys all the time, there is a difference in legal implications and personal or ethical or moral implications of what people do. So, at the end of the day, the legal system does have a job. I suggest that we get more educated. Go out there, start getting more educated, and get behind the things that you really feel compelled to support because you feel compelled to support them instead of feeling like, you know what, everybody else is behind it, so I'm going to get behind it too. As always, it's been good. Shout out to the chat. You guys are freaking amazing. If you guys are catching this material for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Support me on YouTube. Also, all my links is like posted somewhere in the description somewhere. But if it isn't, it's all my links /doclqj. Don't forget to support. Don't forget to donate. Do your thing, give me topics, and I'll be back here for another accountability conversation on Monday night. So, later days. Bye.
Who alive can't put me in a box. I redefine any definition you got. I am the tiger, I'm making steps to the top. The flames, I'll rip it up, you just gotta hand me the rock. Take a seat, you cannot stand it. All I know, the flow harder than a scotch bunny. Don't try studying me, you cannot manage. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon. This ain't what you want, bitch, I'm a fucking phenomenon.